I'm ready.
Justin Peters, in his 2016 article, said that there are over 350,000 drones currently registered with the FAA. That's a lot of UAVs in the air, and since 2016, that number has certainly increased. As the hobby takes off, there's going to be more and more people pushing for regulations and rules about the hobby, even though they know basically nothing about it. At Cal Poly, there has been a major crackdown on drone flight on campus, and I believe that this is a major overreaction to the situation at hand because the drones pose a low threat to the public safety, and I believe that they are overstepping their legal boundaries. The current drone policy on campus is very strict. Jacques Berquest, a writer for Mustang News, reported earlier this year that there had been a huge decrease in drone flights on campus. This is because back in 2015, the Cal State University chancellor, he actually sent a new rule out to all the Cal State schools that basically said that there are only two ways to fly a drone on campus. The first way is to get a certificate of authorization from the FAA, which basically means you're only going to fly on campus for non-commercial purposes and only non-commercial purposes. And if you don't apply for that and you can't get approved for that, then you can do a Section 333 exemption, which basically means that you don't meet those requirements, but at the same time you still know how to operate a drone safely, and you can still fly on campus. Either route you take, though, you have to be approved by the campus's UAS committee. I recently applied for approval by the UAS committee. Give me a second. There it goes. And basically what their website says is that you have to be approved, but that being approved, you can fly on campus if you are doing a hobbyist flight. After applying to the UAS committee, I got this response, which basically says that they are not approving hobbyist flight and personal drone flights at this time, despite what their website's saying that they do, in fact, approve those. They gave me a response about a special drone site that they were trying to work on, but to me it seems like that was maybe just a redirection so that I didn't try to question further as to why I can't fly a drone on campus. And it is true that sometimes drone accidents do occur. Usually they are harmless, and to be honest, they're very rare. One noticeable exception was a 737 that got hit by a drone in Mozambique because it was hovering over the landing strip as it was coming into land. And of course, this is absolutely not okay for a drone pilot to be doing. Stephen Jones reported that the plane only suffered hull damage, but it definitely did put the plane at risk. In Mozambique, though, they definitely do not have as strict of air laws as we do here. So a situation like this arising here in the United States is very not likely to happen. For people who fly drones like me and other hobbyists, most crashes end up like this, sadly, which is just a heap of parts laying on the floor, totally broken and unflyable, which to me is super sad, but in SLO, we don't have any major airports to contend with for airspace when flying a drone. We do have the municipal airport here in SLO that doesn't host any sort of large jumbo jets or anything like that. But any drone pilot knows that when you are within 5 miles of an airport, then you have to call the tower and check with them to see if it's okay to fly. And clearly the person who was flying in Mozambique did not do that with their air traffic controller. And the air traffic controller can tell you, no, you cannot fly here. During my research on this topic, I found a database called Domestic Drone Accidents, which is basically a huge database of drone accidents that have been investigated by the police. All of the cases I found on that database were situations where the pilots were being reckless and not flying in an area that was safe to fly. They all flew in highly congested areas with a lot of people around and not a lot of open space. When you're flying drones, you always have to make sure that you have plenty of open space to be able to fly and that there's not a lot of people around. I don't believe it's fair that all pilots should be punished for the actions of some pilots because they didn't want to follow basic guidelines and rules to help keep the public safe. I don't think it's fair for Cal Poly to be cracking down on every single drone pilot just because a few in other places may have caused some accidents. Here is where I was trying to fly the other day, up at the red oval right there. And that area is behind the K1 parking lots, which is just on the other side of the North Mountain Halls, if you don't know where it is. It's the trailhead to the P, if you go up there, and there's some sort of storage facility building up there. Not really sure what it is. It's totally empty. And there's no people around, and there's no reason not to be able to fly up there. The other day I went up there to fly, and when I got up there, there was cops sitting outside of that building for no apparent reason except they were probably busting somebody for smoking weed up there. But I asked them beforehand if I could take off because I didn't want to just fly with them right there and make them nervous or anything. And so I asked them, and they said no, that you can't fly on campus at all, which was the first time I had learned about this. And I just think it's wrong that you can't fly in an area with no people around besides 2 police officers, even though I am a drone pilot who knows the basic rules and knows what to do and what not to do. It seems that Cal Poly is overstepping their boundaries a little bit. In 2017, there are drones rights activists. One of those people is Gary Wickard, who in his 2015 article addressed the use of airspace by drone pilots. In a 1946 Supreme Court case, they ruled that any airspace above 500 feet is actually general airspace that anybody can use unless it's been zoned off for military purposes. And that any air below 500 feet is the property owner's land if it has reasonable connection to that property, meaning that it's being used for some reason in connection to the land. And I don't see how it makes sense that a drone pilot can't fly on that property if they're at, say, 300 feet, which is a football-length field above the ground, because no place that I know of do they use that air in connection to their ground, which is the same that applies here at Cal Poly. If I'm hovering 100 to 300 feet above campus, there's no way that that air is being used by Cal Poly. Some people clearly don't think the same way that I do. There have been cases of people actually shooting down drones with shotguns and pistols and whatnot. Cyrus Farivar reported in 2016 of a woman in Kentucky who actually shot down a drone with her shotgun. And I believe people who do this should face legal repercussions for doing so, because the drone that she shot down was a reasonable height above her land, and there wasn't any people or buildings around because it was a ranch. And I think people who are doing this should not be able to do so, obviously. And then as we get these new drone technologies from Amazon and IBM and whoever else is working on them, then situations like this are going to be becoming more common, and you need to start cracking down on them now. The FAA's FAQ page, their frequently asked questions page, says that any aircraft must be registered with the FAA before flight, which includes drones, but it also includes these, that, and those. Nowhere do they specifically say what does have to be registered and what doesn't necessarily need to be registered. So by their rules, I might have to actually register one of those before I can tie it to my wrist and walk around with it. Along with the registration is a $5 fee that they make you pay, which I believe that system should be free, because it basically all you do is you tell them your flight model, like the model of your aircraft that you're flying, and then they give you a call sign number that you have to put on your drone. And it seems like the FAA is taking advantage of the situation to get money from drone users like that. And I am in no way advocating for absolutely no rules applying to drone usage, especially on Cal Poly campus. I just think that the FAA and Cal Poly are both overstepping their boundaries a little bit with the regulations that are putting in place. They've turned the hobby into a logistical nightmare to try to pick up. With overstepping legal rights and the overrated dangers of drone flight, Cal Poly is making a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to drone flight. Here is a petition that I've actually created that basically asks Cal Poly administration to approve hobbyist drone flight on campus in designated areas only. And what I ask you guys to do is, if you agree and you think that it's a little ridiculous, just go to that link and enter your name, and I think it's just your email, and that's it. If you still have a problem with drone flights, maybe because privacy is the issue and you feel like people are going to be spying on you maybe, just remember that the NSA still doesn't even know how many people they're spying on. Thank you.